All right, so in the last lecture, we actually created a database and then we dropped it, the testDB. I've created it back again. If you don't know how to create a database, then refer back to the last lecture, last lesson, and you can check it out. So if I go ahead and say /dt, which is list all the tables in this database, it's going to come back as, well, there are no tables in the database. And it's correct because we haven't really created any tables in the database. Tables are obviously used to store information. So if you have a database called testDB, maybe I want to create a table called students, and it will have information regarding students. So let's go ahead and create a table called students. Now create table. Now this is what we're typing. It's called the SQL, structured query language. So just like JavaScript is a language for manipulating with web pages and web requests, and HTML is kind of like a scripting language for structuring your document, and CSS is kind of like a language for making it all look pretty. SQL is a language for communicating with the database. And you'll see that once you learn the basics of SQL, it is applied in across all different kind of relational databases. So it doesn't really matter if you're using Oracle or MySQL or Postgres or SQLite or even SQL Server for Microsoft. All of these things are going to come back again, and it's pretty much the same syntax. So create table is a command, and now I need to provide the name of the table. So I'm going to say students. And now I'm going to open the bracket, the round bracket, which is the definition of the table. So what is the definition of the table? What kind of columns will that particular table will have? Well, ID, and ID will be a serial primary key, meaning that ID is going to be unique for each record that I insert into the database. It will be serial, meaning it will increment by itself, and it will be a primary key, which means that it will be unique and it cannot be null. All right, so that's one column. Do you want to store the name of the student? Maybe John, Mary. All right, so name. It will be of type varchar. Basically, we're saying the string, and that string can hold up to 100 characters. If you enter anything for the name which is more than 100 characters, it will be truncated. And this can also be not null, so you have to provide the name. All right. So create table students is the name of the table. ID is one of the column, which is a primary key. It will be incremented by itself. Name is another column of the table, which is varchar, and it will be not null. So if you're thinking in terms of Excel spreadsheet, you can think that your name of the spreadsheet is students, and your column in one of the spreadsheet is ID, and the another column is name. All right, so what else can be stored? Let's go ahead and store one more thing, cohort integer, and you know what integer stands for. It's basically numbers and not null. All right, so these are all the things, all the different columns that I want to store, and then close the round bracket, semicolon, and it has now created a table. So if it has created a table, we can actually list the tables. So we can do /dt, and congratulations, now it actually lists one relationship, which is students, which is of type table, right? So if I say over here, give me everything inside students table, it's saying 0. So basically this command is saying that select everything. Star means everything from students, and it's going to give me 0 because, well, we just created a table. We don't have anything in the table. Not a big deal. We can start inserting stuff into the table. So insert into the table name students, and which column? So name, comma, cohort. Now you might be saying, hey, why didn't you include ID? Because ID is one of the columns. Well, usually you don't really insert, or 99.9% of the time, you really insert into something called a primary key. And the reason is that primary key, when we call serial, it will be managed by the database itself. It has to be unique, right? So database is going to manage that. The database is going to ensure that when you're inserting the primary key for this particular record that we are inserting is going to be unique from the next record. So let's go ahead and do that. Oops. So let's go values. Now the first value that I'm providing is going to go for the name column. So what name you want to put it? So I'm going to say over here, let's say John, comma. The second value will go into cohort. All right. So let's call it, I don't know, 10. There we go. Semicolon. There we go. Now let's go ahead and run the command, the select command again. Select all from students. Well, congratulations. Well, now you have one record. And look at that. We didn't never inserted one for our ID, but in our definition over here in the create table, we said that ID is a serial. Basically, serial means that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to just go on like that. And it's going to be primary key, meaning this is a unique key, the unique column for this particular record. All right, so this is how it will identify the uniqueness of different records. Let's go ahead and add some more stuff. So instead of John, let's go ahead and say Mary, and let's just say cohort is 12. Once again, we have not really provided the ID. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it inserted, and let's run the select command again. What do you think the ID of Mary will be? 2. It has already, the database has taken care of that. It's going to make sure that the IDs are unique, because if they are not unique, then these two records can be same. I mean, this record can be Mary and on cohort 10. So there's no unique way to identify these two rows or records. So the only unique thing about these two records is ID. All right. And that's pretty much it. So try it out and try the select command also. Right now I'm selecting everything from the student table, but maybe I just want the name. So maybe I can simply say select name from students. So run this command, and what do you think it's going to return? And try out different combinations. Select cohort from students, select name from students, select ID from students. You can even select multiple things. If you all want the name and the cohort, you want two things, you select two things. And this will be really important because right now our database is simple and it only contains maybe like 3 columns, right? 3 different kind of things you can store, ID, name, and cohort. But in real practical databases, I mean, they can go like 30 columns. You don't want to select 30 columns. That's going to be bad for performance. You only want to select, depending on your needs, you might only want to select 5 of those. So you're not going to say select all, because this is going to select everything. You're only going to say what you need. All right, so try out different select options and see how that works out for you.